generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. We are back this week with a Shoot the Sheev. Last week we had a week off because Sarah had what I've heard it called a workcation. I think that's what
I wouldn't call it that.
Well, you had a lot of fun outside of the things you did for work, so I think I would call it that. But Sarah is back this week, and so now we're going to go ahead and do our Shoot the Sheev for the week. And this week we are covering a little show on Disney Plus that is called the Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation. So if you don't know what this is, this was a special that came out, I believe, last year in 2022. And basically Lego does all these fun little mashups. You really can't take them super serious. Like some of the things that were happening were kind of making me, I'm not too sure about that kind of a thing, just based on where things were lining up and things that I know from other shows. But it's one of those things where you just have to realize that what you're getting into is supposed to be sit down and have some fun. And that's exactly what this show was. To kind of give you a little bit of an overview without getting into too much detail, because we want to talk about, things we liked and whatnot with it. The show is essentially about our sequel trilogy friends are going on vacation. And where do they go to vacation? The Halcyon, which is the now closed Star Wars hotel from Disney World. So they all go there and some things happen. And then we get a couple of short stories, and then we wrap it up, essentially. Again, we'll go into more detail about that stuff in a little bit. Just trying to let you guys know what it was about.
It reminded me a lot of Lego Droid Tales, where in Lego Droid Tales, C-3PO is kind of recounting, he's telling his friends these various stories that he has encountered. And in this one, it's kind of a similar setup where I guess it's a little bit reversed, where Finn has other people randomly telling him their stories. So it's kind of like a way to interject a whole bunch of short stories with having one overlapping set of characters, I guess, to wrap it all up.
Yeah, and how that's all playing out is that, Finn planned this vacation with all his friends, and turns out all his friends want to do things on their own. And so he's talking with different people about vacations that they went on, and he was shocked that they got to go on a vacation. And some of them are quite funny, I would say. I think before we dive too much into the story, though, we should talk about some of the maybe some of the stuff that was going on when this came out. I still remember when this was announced, so I can talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to talk a little bit about the cast, because there was some pretty interesting choices in here. So I remember, I think it was 2 years ago, Star Wars. I don't think it was not this year's Star Wars Celebration, because this came out last year. So it had to have been last year's Star Wars Celebration. But I remember that they had a panel about this specifically, and I think they even handed out like Xbox Series S's with the Lego summer characters on them. So like you could get a Xbox Series S with Darth Vader in his beach outfit, so to speak. But let's see, what was her name? Yvette Nicole Brown. She came out on stage, and if you don't know who that is, the most famous role to me anyways was She played in Drake and Josh, and she was the movie theater manager. She was Josh's boss. I don't know a whole lot of her other stuff that she has done, but
She was in an episode or two of The Office.
oh, that's right. But I will say, for me, she'll forever be Josh's boss, just because that, in my opinion, that character was pretty iconic. But anyway, so she has the panel. She's supposed to be talking about, this new special that's coming out, and she revealed that she was actually one of the voice actresses in the short or in the show. It's not short, but it's not a movie either. I think it's like 45 minutes. So we get Yvette Nicole Brown as one of our main characters. I know when Sarah was looking things up, she noticed that there was a couple of actually returning Star Wars people. Who were they, Sarah?
Yes, we got Anthony Daniels reprising his role as C-3PO. And then also another surprising one for me was Lando Calrissian, Billy D. Williams, coming back to reprise his role as well. And those were the only two returning characters, or returning voice actors, I guess you could call it, because there's plenty of returning characters. There's not very many new characters. But like, we think of
there's one more.
There is.
Yeah, I'm looking at the list right now. There is one more that was actually in the films, and that is Kelly Marie Tran. She comes back to reprise her role as Rose.
I am surprised. I did not catch that was her.
Yeah. Yep. There are some of the voice actors are the people from other voice acting roles in some of the Star Wars shows, like Matthew Wood. He jumps out pretty big to me. I don't remember who he plays, but I know. Let's see.
And this he's Kylo Ren.
Yeah, I don't remember who he plays. Matthew Wood. He played some of the battle droids in the Clone Wars. So yeah, Matthew Wood is back. I feel like
the guy who voices Finn, his name is Omar Benson Miller. I didn't recognize his voice necessarily as being this guy, but when I'm looking at the cast list, I recognized his face. I'm like, where do I know that guy from? And he's done a whole bunch of different things, but where I know him from was CSI Miami. He was on that show for 10 years. So it's kind of cool to see another well-known actor voicing somebody.
Got a striking resemblance to Forrest Whitaker. I wonder if they're related.
I have no idea.
One of the other people that jumps out to me, and this is the last one that does jump out to me, was James Arnold Taylor. He plays Obi-Wan Kenobi in this Lego show, and he's actually the voice actor for Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Wars. So we do get that little crossover there. I wondered why it sounded so familiar when we were watching it, and well, that's why. So yeah, we talked about a handful of the actors and actresses that were coming back. What was the big surprise one that we had, Sarah?
Ooh, this character.
And talk about how like we first saw them on screen and we were like, is it?
Yeah, so this was a new character. Their name was Vic Vanko, right? And they were, think of it as like the DJ or the host of a beach party. They had a Hawaiian shirt on, really long curly hair, and he just had like a really chill kind of fun vibe. And he kind of sounded like Weird Al. So we looked it up, and sure enough, Weird Al Yankovic, he is one of the voice actors for this show. He hosts he's basically the host of a giant beach party that Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine go to.
He also looked like him a lot too.
Yeah.
Like he had the hair in Lego form. I wonder if you can get a minifigure of Weird Al. It'd be kind of funny.
That would be super cool. I know one of our friends who would really like that.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the people that the more I look at this, the more I recognize.
Those are probably some of the bigger ones.
Yeah, the last one that I'm going to point out, and I promise this is the last one. D. Bradley Baker that plays Boba Fett. He's also the person that does all the Bad Batch. So it makes sense that he's playing Boba because Boba is a clone himself. But yeah, so we talked about a lot of the people that we recognize, a lot of the people that came back, some surprises, all the good stuff. So let's talk about the show a little bit before we dive into, tough love and all that good stuff. So this show, it was about, like I said, Finn and all of our sequel trilogy friends are going on vacation, and all of Finn's friends want to go do their own thing. And Finn was really wanting to do something all together. And so when everybody goes to do their own thing, Finn is kind of to himself and, pretty sad about the fact that nobody wants to do this vacation together. And so as he's moseying around, he starts to bump into like Force Ghost type people. I think the first one was Obi-Wan, if I remember correctly. So he bumps into Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's giving his spiel to Finn about vacation. A lot of these characters are also dropping lines from, the movies and stuff, which is kind of a tongue-in-cheek haha moment for all of us fans. And he's like, Obi-Wan Kenobi, there's no way you got to go on a vacation. You're a war general. How could you ever find time? And so we learn about, when Kenobi was watching over Luke on Tatooine, that he like stumbled across somebody that was Yvette Nicole Brown's character, Colvette Valeria, because I thought she said malaria at first, but it was Valeria. And basically, this is a rebel spy that has to go in and steal coaxium from Jabba's palace. And Jabba opens up his palace like once a year for a big party. And so she basically ropes Obi-Wan into going with her as her quote unquote husband, right? Not boyfriend, it was husband. Yeah. So they do their thing. He distracts everybody by singing, basically karaoke while she gets the coaxium. And then they get figured out because he pulls her dress off of her and she has, her rebel stuff underneath. And then they have to get out and get away. The day is great. We'll talk more about it in other stuff because there's some things I nitpicked about. But that was the first story that Finn heard about. And then Finn stumbles across, he decides to finally go and try to do something for fun. And he goes to a beach where he stumbles across Anakin Skywalker. And Anakin is talking about a vacation he took when he was actually Vader with the Emperor. This is where the Weird Al thing comes into play that Sarah was talking about. Sarah, did you want to talk about their vacation?
I guess some of the big points would be Emperor Palpatine was kind of being a bit of a party pooper and didn't really want to be on the beach and all that. Vader didn't really want to either because he was in his full Vader uniform and it's very hot on the beach. There was a moment where one of them are no, it's when he's in Anakin form talking to Finn. He says one of his lines about sand and how much he dislikes it. So it's kind of funny. But anyway, so on their vacation, they go to this beach party and there's a contest to become the ruler of the beach, right? So of course, Emperor Palpatine wants to be the ruler. So they find their ways to cheat and win all the party games, like using a lightsaber for limbo, for example. That way the other people get burned and can't win limbo, which is pretty evil. So he becomes the ruler of the beach, and I don't really remember how that one ends, aside from that was kind of their relaxation.
There was one game that they played. I forget what it's called, but it's the one from like King of Queens where Doug was terrible at it and Arthur was really good, and they were like shuffling the thing across.
Shuffleboard.
Is that shuffleboard? Okay, well, there we go. So they did that, and like the Emperor used the Force to make it go to the spot that he wanted to. I don't remember any of the other games that they played. But I guess long story short, the emperor wins. He wins all the events because he cheated. And as the I want to call him Weird Al, but I'm trying to call him by his name, Vic. As Vic is handing out the trophy, to the emperor notices that there's some other people getting trophies too, and he like grabs one of them. He's like, "What the heck is this?" And Vic was like, "Well, we got participation trophies too." And the emperor was really not happy about that. He wanted to be the one that had all the trophies. So that was their little vacation. I think one of the biggest parts about it that I thought was interesting was just showing how much the Emperor was a negative Nelly, and then Vader flipped on him, like saying, "I did this for you. I didn't do this for me," and like full on being upset about it. And then the third story that we see is when Finn talks to Leia. And this is after the Rise of Skywalker. And so Leia has passed on, so she's a Force ghost. And Leia is talking about one of the vacations that she took with her family, Han, Chewie, and little Kylo. And apparently Han wanted to take them to Endor. It was supposed to be a really nice campsite, but then it turned out to be trash, just like your average sitcom or comedy movie moment. And there is a guide there, like it is actually a functioning place, but it just doesn't look as good as the flyer. And so some shenanigans happens there. And what it boils down to is that Kylo is, or I should say Ben, sorry. Ben is upset that Han won't let him grow up. And somebody talks Ben into letting them fly the Falcon, which when they go up into orbit, there is some Death Star debris out there from the Battle of Endor. And so eventually Ben has to take the controls and, do what he needs to make sure that they get home safely, even if the Falcon does get banged up a little bit. I think that's pretty much that one, right?
Yeah, the guy that owned like the campgrounds or whatever had been fighting with the Ewoks and was hoping that Leia and Han would be able to pull some weight and like make the Ewoks obey to stay off the campsites, but because they're friends with the Ewoks, it didn't really go the way that the campsite owner wanted. But they basically came up with a compromise of we will co-own the campsites and you won't terrorize my villagers.
Yeah. So then that's the third story, and then I think that was
there is one more thing. Sorry. That story ends with Ben being dropped off at his uncle Luke's house, like insinuating that that's when his training starts.
Gotcha. I believe that was the last mini story, right? Yeah. So then basically, as Finn is going to go try to see his friends again, all his friends come back to see him and they're like, we're sorry. We realized, you planned this to be a group thing and we all went out on our own. And then it was, kumbaya. Everybody was happy and, ready to vacation together on the Halcyon, the big thing that they want in there to advertise their their former Star Wars hotel. Still, I think it's closed for good. I haven't heard anything about them opening it back up, but Lego definitely tried to. I almost wonder if Disney made that a stipulation. Like, if you're going to do a vacation special, please advertise, our new hotel.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. One of the big things that was like a takeaway for Finn after hearing all of these stories is it was for him it was bigger than just enjoy your friends because he wanted to hang out with his friends, right? So the big thing for him was he really didn't want to say goodbye, but he knew this was kind of like the last time that they'd all be together. And so if we enjoy this vacation, then that means we don't have to say goodbye, right? Because we'll just be so busy enjoying the vacation that I don't have to think about how sad it is we're all leaving. But I guess he just kind of really rallied everybody to enjoy themselves while they're on their vacation, and that way he could find some peace and moving on to what their next purposes were.
And whatever their next purpose is, I'm sure will probably be covered in the next official movie, because we do have a movie coming out that is supposed to be focusing on Rey, with Daisy Ridley coming back, which I am very open-minded and excited for. I thought one of the very best things about the sequel trilogy was Daisy Ridley, and I thought she really came into her own there, by that third film. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. But okay, so we talked about, what you need to know about this show, like, what happened, who was a part of it, all that good stuff. So when we come back, we are going to talk about some of our tough loves for this Lego special. So stick around. Do you enjoy taking a look at Black Series figure collections? Well, then we have a playlist for you. We take a look at all the newest Star Wars Black Series figures that we can get our hands on and share them with you. So if you enjoy those types of videos, make sure to check out our playlist that goes over the Star Wars Black Series figures in our collection, and you will not be disappointed. So check those out. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Welcome back, everybody. We are here to talk to you about some of our tough loves for this Lego Star Wars summer vacation. I want to start it off, and again, this is just me being nitpicky, and it's one of the reasons why sometimes I'm a little iffy on watching the Lego shows. It's because they don't have to stick to canon for some reason. They don't have to do all of their homework. They can just kind of do what they want. I mean, there's some of the previous Lego projects where it's just all over the place, where Darth Vader, meets somebody from the prequel trilogy, or someone, they're crossing things where people would have never been able to meet, kind of a thing.
It's kind of like if you're playing a video game and you go in sandbox mode and make your own adventure, right?
Yeah, it's a very sandboxy type special. And of course, would Darth Vader and the Emperor really go on a vacation to the beach? No, but it's fun to think about, right? But there's a couple of like small things that I thought were a little kind of like, okay, I guess we're just gonna go with it. My smallest one, that's the real nitpick, was, and I looked very closely in the segment where we're listening to Leia's vacation with Han and Ben, and they have the Falcon and they're flying towards or they're going to Endor and all that stuff. The Falcon has, I think, the wrong satellite dish. The sequel trilogy satellite dish is rectangular, whereas the original trilogy was circular, and they had the circular dish on the Falcon. And so that's one of my nitpicks. I know I'm a super nerd.
When does it change to that, though? Because this is sequel trilogy, but it's when Ben's a kid, so it's before episode 7.
I'm glad you asked. So in episode 6, when they're actually doing the Battle of Endor, Han says to Lando, I got you promised now, not a scratch. Like, Lando is not supposed to get any scratches on his Falcon while he's using it. And when Lando is flying in the Death Star, he actually hits something, and that's what causes the circular satellite dish to fall off. And there's no, at least from what I've seen, there's no in between that shows that a circular one was put back on the Falcon. If there is, I'd love to see it in the comments so that I can be corrected on that. But as far as I know, between that moment and the sequel trilogy, they had a rectangular one put on. But yeah, I digress from it. The other one that I thought was, I don't see this as nitpicky, but when Kenobi is talking about his vacation, okay, and this character, Colvette Valeria, comes to meet him, and she's, trying to figure out who he is so he can help her out. She asks what his name is, and he just flat out goes, I'm Ben. And no hesitation at all. And what I find weird about that is because when we see the Kenobi show and that one Jedi that's trying to find him, he's like, you're Ben or you're Obi-Wan, right? And he's like, I don't know who that person is. It's not me. And he's just like totally avoiding the fact that his name used to be Obi-Wan or anything for that matter. He doesn't want anybody to know his identity besides the people he, works with. And so I thought it was kind of weird that he just flat out said, I'm Ben, without hesitating to not tell her what it was.
I think you're talking about two totally different time periods, though, because the Obi-Wan Kenobi show is when Luke is a kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Kylo hasn't even been born yet because, yeah. Uh, so like that was a very different state of in the rebellion. And then like now, I don't know how to formulate my thoughts properly, but just bear with me for a moment, right? So that was when Luke was a kid and
I
the
will
Jedi.
I will bear with you so I can tell you how you're wrong.
Just hold on here a second. Okay, so that was when Luke was a kid and the Jedi were all in hiding, whereas now in the summer vacation. Oh, but this was a flashback.
It was.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Continue.
So here's the couple of things to point out why I'm right and Sarah's definitely wrong. Okay, first of all, Kenobi's hair color. He's not old, like old and grayed. He's got his normal hairdo. And also, we do see Luke on screen, and he like kind of mentions that he has a responsibility to Valeria, and that the camera and him, basically look at Luke when he jumps into a speeder to zoom away to Beggar's Canyon. So my guess is he's somewhat of a teenager when this is going on. So I think and he's just like willy-nilly using his force powers and not caring if anybody notices. Like he does the whole stormtrooper thing about you don't need this. They can go do their thing and whatever. Right in the middle of the cantina. So it's basically like, yo, I'm a Jedi. Come find me, kind of a thing. We also see that Jabba and Boba Fett are still alive, so that tells us it's not the sequel trilogy. Well, Boba, I guess, isn't as much of a shocker, but Jabba is.
All right, all right. I was wrong.
You're darn right. No. Was there anything that came to mind that you did not like or just had a little bit of a tough love, nitpicky stuff?
It's kind of weird because when I was watching this, and I somewhat closely pay attention to voice actors, not like who the actual person is, but just do they sound similar to their character? Because to me, that's really important for believability of, when you're rebooting characters like that, they need to look like them and they need to talk like them. Because when you change one of those two things, it makes it kind of hard to follow the story. I thought everybody looked all right, but the one this is gonna sound really stupid now that I'm looking back at it, but the one that I thought didn't really sound like the character was Rose. And the stupid part is because she's one of the actual people who reprised her role as Rose. So I don't know if it's just like she changed her accent or something like that. I feel like it had to have been something like that because it's obviously still the same person for her. But I felt like it didn't really sound like Rose. Rose has a very particular voice to me. There's just like the way her voice hums. I'm not good with musical terms, but it didn't really sound like her to me. So I thought that was kind of weird. It wasn't like so crazy it made it unwatchable or anything like that. It's just kind of nitpicky. I remember when we were watching, you said you weren't really a fan of Rey's voice actor either.
Yeah, which is crazy. So what's interesting to me, the voice actress, her name is Helen Sadler. She actually has a lot of voice acting credits and with a lot of good stuff too. And she's been Rey a good handful of times, and including the Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga video game. And so I find it interesting because like this is the first time where I thought that Lego character didn't really sound like her. Um, and this comes, well, let's see, was this the first time ever playing? I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like she sounded pretty good in the video game.
This isn't her first time playing Rey, so yeah, it was just kind of weird. It didn't quite click with me. But it's pretty cool. It looks like she's been a handful of different Star Wars characters. She's even been in Ahsoka. So that's pretty cool. She was one of the assassin droids. She was the leader, the voice of it. So that's kind of cool. So your tough love is some of the voice acting seemed a little, at least from a matching the voice point of view, it seemed a little off.
It just didn't seem quite to character for me. But I mean, that's being real nitpicky. It wasn't anything crazy. It wasn't like it was throughout the entire film because, Rose's character is super minor in this. She doesn't have very many lines at all. Really, it's kind of Finn and whoever is telling those side stories that he's talking to. In terms of other nitpicky things, I suppose, because I don't really have much tough love for this. I don't know. I thought it was fun. I guess from a continuity standpoint, I can see where you're coming from with your other points. They just weren't things that I picked up. But thanks a lot, Jeremy, because now that I know them, I'm going to think about them every time I watch this.
Well, maybe you can be more of a critical thinker when you watch these Star Wars shows.
So let me ask you this then. Okay, here you go.
Uh-oh.
When they're playing Limbo, is that really Darth Vader's lightsaber? Did you pay attention to the hilt?
Well, it's a Lego hilt, so it's anybody's hilt. But that guy got toasted, I can tell you that.
I had to see if I could trip you up.
One of the things that I was kind of hoping for, but it didn't end up happening, was they're on the Halcyon, which means that they're trying to advertise some of the Star Wars stuff. Well,
Were you like me and waiting for the stormtroopers to come out because they mentioned how bad guys can't take vacations? And I'm like, yes, here's the stormtroopers coming out, and then none came out.
No, I didn't pick up on that. The one thing that I thought, well, now that I think of it, continuity wouldn't work. But I thought it would be cool. I guess if it was a flashback, it would have worked. If they would have basically put Rise of the Resistance as one of their vacations gone wrong, because remember when we're doing that ride at Disney, we're on a tour spaceship trying to go somewhere nice, and then we get, taken hostage by the First Order. And I think it would have been kind of cool for them to emulate their ride in this show. If you're advertising one thing, why not advertise even more, Or maybe Han Solo's would have been the smuggler's run, something went wrong when they were trying to do a job, but are you offering me a job? I think they wanted to emphasize a little bit more of, like you said, showing that this is the vacation that happened right before they dropped off Ben for his training, kind of a thing. They had to have some sort of connection there.
Yeah.
That's my guess. But again, like I said, these Lego shows are, like Sarah mentioned, a bit of a sandbox. And so everything and anything can happen. So I think you're kind of on the edge of your seat a little bit to just see what craziness that they come up with. I know we've briefly talked about some of the Halloween ones in the past, and those ones got crazy too. So that's what happened here. I mean, heck, we had Darth Vader and Emperor Palpatine going to a beach party that was ran by Weird Al. Can you imagine the people that were in the writing room being like, what is going on?
But hear me out. What if Emperor Palpatine and Darth Vader went to a beach party where there's sand because Vader doesn't like sand? Then they go to a party where there's weird Al.
Son of a gun, I'm in.
Who comes up with this stuff?
I don't know, but it's definitely pretty funny and unexpected. Like I said, you don't know what's going to happen, right?
I feel like that's just the vibe of really any Star Wars Lego show.
Yeah. All right. So those were some of our tough loves. Again, I was a bit more nitpicky as far as, nerdy stuff going on. And Sarah, some of her tough loves had to do with some of the voices matching up. And I can definitely see that, with these Lego shows, they don't always get, the people that are those characters. And that's fine. Budgeting and all that good stuff. I get it. But it is cooler the more that the actual people reprise their roles. But when we come back, we're going to talk about some things that we did like about Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation. So stick around. Have you ever wondered what Amazon coffins are and what they're full of? Well, we got you covered here on the channel. Check out our playlist of our Amazon coffin unboxings where Sarah and I open up boxes that have Amazon returns and we share with all of you what we get in each of those boxes. If you ever wanted to get into liquidation and want to know what types of things you can find, check us out. Now back to our show. Welcome back, everybody. We are here to talk about the things that we really enjoyed about the Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation. And I guess I can just kick it off. I just love how crazy it was. Like we said, it's stuff that is unexpected. I thought it was a little cheesy to be putting it on the Halcyon at first, knowing, Disney was really trying to put some marketing in there. But as far as, seeing all the different random adventures, like if you think about it, what would a vacation for Obi-Wan Kenobi look like? What would a vacation look like for Darth Vader? And then also Princess Leia. And we get those answers here. We get some sort of idea that is endorsed by Disney of what their vacations would look like. So for me, I think I would say just the coolness of the craziness and then getting some sort of idea of what a Star Wars vacation looks like. What's one that you liked?
Oh, I was really hoping you were going to say just one because the more I think about it, I'm like, well, this is pretty cool and that's pretty cool.
I can do my next one.
I I have one thing for each of the three stories, and then I have one for kind of just the main group that's like in the background. So I'm gonna do my one on the main group that's in the background. Then maybe we can talk about each of the stories. So at one point, all three of the droids, meaning R2, C3PO, and BB-8, are like they're just getting back from the spa or something like that. So like they all have towels on and the cucumbers on their eyes and stuff. And of course, BB-8, he's just got one eye. So he just got one massive cucumber over his eye. And I just thought it was so cute. So it's just that like family fun cuteness. I don't know. I just thought it was adorable.
Yeah, it's that like tongue-in-cheek comedy that, Lego stuff is known for. Ever since the start of even just the Lego Star Wars video games. And yeah, that's a really fun little touch that they have there, haha, he has one eye, so he gets one cucumber. Yeah. And the fact that they went to the spa, I mean, did he bring out his little arm thing and they, did something with that? I don't know.
like buffing his nails or something.
Yeah. Maybe they had oil baths. Because I know
They very well could have.
as C3PO really enjoyed that in A New Hope, so maybe they all enjoyed those too. We're gonna go back and forth.
Sure.
My next one.
Go for it.
Another thing that I really liked is some of the small details. So kind of like the BB-8 thing where you have small details that are fun to point out and stuff. And the one thing that I thought was funny and really neat was when Finn is on the beach and he's not having as much fun as he, probably should be. We hear the voice of basically Darth Vader's breathing and this thing coming out of the water from the ocean. And it's Anakin Skywalker with a scuba diving outfit. And that makes sense because, Vader's breathing was based off of a scuba diver breathing noises. And so when he comes out of the water and he's making those breathing noises, well, that's a Vader thing to do, but it's really the Force ghost of Anakin. And so I thought that little touch there was fun and funny, and I liked it.
I had no idea it was off of scuba diving. I mean, I can hear it now that you say that, but I did not know that before.
Mm-hmm.
It's really neat. So I was gonna try and go in order of our stories here, and so our first one was with Obi-Wan Kenobi. So the thing that I liked with his little story was when he did karaoke for singing for the Jabba's birthday party. Sorry, I can hardly even say it because it's so ridiculous. But he starts singing Gamorrean boys and Gamorrean girls, and he just keeps singing that like over and over. And it's just so ridiculous. And ridiculous is probably my favorite thing. It's just absurd and it's fun and it's silly, and just who would think that Obi-Wan Kenobi would be singing and like almost beatboxing about people dancing at a party, and he's just trying to get everybody like, all right, now the stormtroopers come join the party, and Jabba comes joins the party, and everybody's on the dance floor, and you guys come join the dance floor, and Gamorrean boys and Gamorrean girls. And it's just so silly.
Yeah, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and no offense to all the people that like this kind of music, but the type of music he was playing sometimes is only one or two lines, and people just care about a nice beat in the background, and I think that's kind of funny how to add on to that. Like you were saying, that's all he was really repeating was, every next person that he wanted to come out onto the dance floor, that's all he was saying. There really wasn't much more to the piece.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. I enjoyed it. What was the thing you had from the second story?
So the second one, that was the one with I almost said
Vader.
Obi-Wan. It's the one with Vader, right? So thing that I liked from this, first of all, I thought Weird Al was fun. He blended right in. Like he was, I feel like, the perfect casting for the host of like a beach party. But what I also liked was I could recognize Vader's vacation outfit, his like sunset style tank top from our countdown to Christmas. What do you call that?
The Advent calendar.
Advent calendar. Thank you. I was blanking. I could recognize like that tank top outfit from our Advent calendar. And so I don't know which one came first, this movie or the Advent calendar that I'm referring to. But either way, I thought it was really neat that it matched. I was like, oh, I have that figure, and so it's kind of neat to see things that you have in movie form. I thought his surfboard looked really nice. It wasn't like super flashy, but I don't know, it looked sleek, and it looked like Vader. If Vader were to have a surfboard, that's what it would look like to me.
Same for me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this came out in August of 2022, and then our Advent calendar probably came out officially probably somewhere around September, because we can already see this year's Advent calendar already out, which is ridiculous. But I guess they're just saying you can use an Advent calendar for any. What if? What's the definition of an Advent calendar? Like, is it specifically for a holiday, or is it just a countdown calendar?
I think it's specific to Christmas.
The reason why I ask is like, what if we just bought 6 different Advent calendars and then did Advent stuff for 6 months?
The definition of an advent is the arrival of a notable person, thing, or event. So you could be celebrating any event.
So that means we could do an advent calendar for Thanksgiving, and we can do an advent calendar for Halloween, and then we can do one for...
Those would overlap.
What are you talking about?
Thanksgiving is usually the third Thursday. I think it's the third Thursday. Or it's the last Thursday. Which one is it?
I just know it's not a Friday. If you know, you know.
Bear with me here. What day is Thanksgiving this week? Yeah, it's the third Thursday, so it's the 23rd of November. So if you count back 30 days, you'd be before Halloween.
Just open up 2 or 3 of them on Thanksgiving and be thankful that you have more. But anyways, yeah, that is pretty cool that they made like the special Vader figure for that advent calendar to represent what was going on in the Vacation movie from that year. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Sarah, but I'm pretty sure we're doing the Lego Star Wars advent calendar again this year, right?
Oh, yes.
All right. I had thought about changing it up and trying, other advent calendars, but and there's something that's like a minor spoiler on the box that shows what one of them is in there, and I was like, if I don't do this one, Sarah's probably going to be very angry. So we don't want to see her angry, especially not around the holidays. And the third story was the Endor one. So what was the thing that you really liked there?
The thing that I enjoyed there was just getting to see Ben as a kid. It was something that we hadn't explored before. When we see the original trilogy, he doesn't exist yet. And when we see the sequel trilogy, he's already an adult. Or, maybe young adult / older teenager, somewhere in that range. But we don't really get to see what he's like as a kid. And so I thought that was kind of neat. Like he sees a pretty girl, he has to deal with a bully, and it's very classic things. I'm stuck on a family vacation, it's boring. They'll never do what I want to do. And, he's butting heads with his dad, Han Solo. And it's all very classic things, but to see it through Ben's point of view, because we, again, haven't seen him as a kid before. I thought it was a unique twist. And of course, I love Endor. It's my favorite Star Wars planet because of the Ewoks, so that just made it better.
As it should. Don't forget, we've had our fried Endorian tip-yip before. Very good stuff. I think that's a cool thing, too, that we got to explore a little bit of, what he was like as a young one. I really think they could make a good Disney Plus series out of that if they, put the right love and care into it. Because I would definitely like to see what his upbringing was like and the training he did go through with Luke to eventually lead up to, turning into Kylo Ren. I know we know what happens at the end, but we don't know everything in between unless you read books, of course. And, every one of my friends rolls their eyes at me whenever I say that. So they need some visuals.
I am one of those people. I prefer to visualize. I'm not super into reading.
Audiobooks are good too, though, especially the Star Wars ones, since they basically make them a movie for your head. But
my brain with audiobooks, if I'm not following along, like reading the book while I hear it, my brain will just trail off to all different places, thinking about all different things. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I haven't been paying attention the last 10 minutes. Let's roll it back.
Which is funny because I'm that way when I'm reading. My finger will be going along. Half my brain will be actually seeing the words, and the other half will be like, what's going on outside?
What am I gonna have for dinner?
What did I have for breakfast? All those distracting things. So
did you have any other things you really liked about this show?
I don't know. I
Maybe
think,
we kind of hit all the high points already.
yeah, I would say, I like these Lego shows just because they are crazy. I know they can, bother my nerdiness every now and then. But I mean, they're fun. Like you said, they're sandbox fun. It's basically what would happen if you played Lego Star Wars on free play, and you get to see all the fun little possibilities that can happen. So,
There was a lot of neat sayings that they brought up too, like how sand gets everywhere and um, it's hard to think of what they were, but I know there was a good handful of them like that.
those
That were
one-liners that were from the movies,
You don't need to see our identification.
yeah, and then they played through that whole thing. Yeah, I like that too. Uh,
The only thing they didn't have though, and maybe this should have gone in the tough love, is if they have all those, where was the Willem scream? The "Ah!"
yeah, I mean that's in my opinion, that's a classic thing for Star Wars. I mean, we hear that a lot more in like the animated show where they have to, put sound to the animation. Uh, I think we definitely hear it a handful of times in the movies. I'm not sure if we hear it every movie, but I feel like it should be in everything, at least once. Make that be like the little Easter egg that everybody has to find in these different Star Wars specials. But those were the things that we really liked about the Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation Special. When we come back, we're going to do some final thoughts and then wrap it up. So stick around. Have you ever wondered what it's like to grow up during the prequel era? Do you wonder what type of merchandise was around then? How different was it than it is now? Check out our videos on this channel where we talk about the merchandise of The Phantom Menace and the merchandise of Attack of the Clones. They are here on this channel. The Phantom Menace is my first video ever on YouTube, so there's a special place in my heart for that one, so please, if any, check that out. Now back to our show. Welcome back, everybody. We are going to wrap it up here with some final thoughts on Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation. I
have a proposition for you.
Oh, proposition. What we got?
What do you think it would look like if they were to have a fourth vacation story and it was Yoda's? Where do you think his vacation would be? What do you think he'd be doing? Who would he be with? He lives in a swamp, so hopefully somewhere not swampy.
If he would, I think Yoda would go to spring break in Florida and get crazy with all the young ones.
That is so random, not at all what I thought you were going to say. Do you think he'd be eating all the food just like how he ate Luke's hot dog?
Yeah, and stealing all their flashlights and stuff. The reason why that popped into my head is I was like, I feel like he would be somewhere where he would be like cranky and kind of a jerk to students. And I was like, I don't think he'd go to a school. That's like a not very good vacation. And then I thought about where's a whole bunch of college kids spring break. And then I thought about, the big party from 22 Jump Street when they show it. So just thinking about little Yoda, making his way through that big old crowd and, dancing with ladies. We've seen his dance moves before. If you haven't seen the special that they put out on one of the DVDs way back when, Yoda's got some dance moves. And then, yeah, I could see him eating a whole bunch of food, doing some crazy stuff.
Maybe he a whole bunch of flashlights or something, or maybe he discovers glow sticks and goes to a rave.
Yeah, and maybe gets a little crazy with some spice.
Oh, Yoda, he'd be so next day he'd be like all hungover with a lampshade on his head.
And then talking in regular English.
It could happen. If you have an idea for what you think a cool little vacation would be for any of these Star Wars characters that's not explored in this, go ahead and put it in the comments. I think it'd be fun to kind of think about what those might be for different characters.
Trying to see, I think this is the most recent Lego Star Wars special. Because the ones that were on Disney Plus were the holiday special, and we covered that a long time ago before even Shoot the Sheev was a thing, so you can check out that video. The second one they had was Terrifying Tales. I don't remember if we did one on that.
I don't think so.
We might have to. And then we have, which is interesting too, because on the cover of the poster that I'm seeing, excuse me, they have one of the Night Sisters, which are the witches from the Ahsoka show. So maybe now that you have some context, you can see it through a different lens, right?
That's true.
And then after that was Summer Vacation. And I don't know if there's any other ones that are planned right now. I don't recall what years these all came out.
Terrifying Tales was 2021 because I just looked at that one to see if I would recognize it. I do not, but there is a movie poster for it where they basically, it looks like the Lost Boys movie poster, but it's the Lego Star Wars characters. So I think that's kind of funny.
Which is interesting because the one that I was looking at looked like The Shining when he busted through the door.
Yeah.
The holiday special came out in 2020. The Terrifying Tales was 2021, you just said. And then Lego Star Wars The Summer Vacation came out in 2022. What happened in 2023? We didn't get one. I mean, they were pumping these things out every year.
Yeah.
I guess the year's not over.
The year is not over, and we did get Ahsoka, which, in my personal opinion, is one of the best Disney Plus Star Wars shows that has come out yet. I really like it, so I guess maybe they put all their effort into that.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I think they're completely
it's
different shows, but
really more just me giving them an excuse because I know a lot of people feel that way about other shows too. Like a lot of people really like Andor, which came out last year, and they came out with the Summer Vacation movie last year. So obviously they can do two at once.
right.
But maybe, fingers crossed, they will come out with another Lego Star Wars show this year. Although I feel like we probably would have heard about it already.
Yeah, I feel like we would too. But that doesn't mean they're not making any for the future. And I also would love to see another Lego Star Wars video game. If you can't tell, we love Lego Star Wars. So we love the shows, we love the video games, we love building Legos that are Star Wars. We've got a couple of videos on here where we did some building and also did some talking while we were building, trying to talk to you guys about stuff. So check those out as well. But anything else you want to talk about with Summer Vacation?
If you have not seen it by now, which I think would be kind of surprising since we just spoiled a whole bunch of stuff in this episode, but if you have not seen it by now, definitely go see it. There's tons more we didn't talk about, and lots of fun little surprises that are waiting for you. So enjoy.
Yeah, there's a lot of the stuff from Finn's point of view, I think, that we didn't talk a lot about. So yeah, check it out. All right, so that was this week's episode of Shoot the Sheev. If you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you are notified when more of these videos drop. Drop us a like if you like the video and drop us a comment. I know Sarah was talking about dropping those comments about what vacation do you think other Star Wars characters would have. We gave you our spitball version of Yoda. What do you have? What would Jar Jars look like? What would Sebulbas look like? Or Dexter?
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, what would his vacation look like? Sky's the limit, right? Or like Thrawn, because we have a new character that we can all adore and love. What would his look like? All the crazy stuff. Yeah. So then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.